You've seen the headlines, right? The ones screaming, the dollar is collapsing, or the end of an empire. It's easy to just scroll past and think, yeah, right, more hype. But what if there's actually something real going on behind the scenes? What does the data actually show? Well, let's dig in and cut through the noise together. Okay, let's kick things off with what might be the single most important number in this entire conversation, 56.32%. So, what is that? That's the slice of the world's entire rainy day fund, all of its foreign exchange reserves that's held in US dollars. And why this is such a huge deal is because it's the lowest it has been in over 3 decades. The last time the dollar's grip was this low was way back in 1995. And look, this isn't something that just happened overnight. It's been a slow, steady chipping away for more than 20 years. You can see the story right here. Back in 2001, it was at its absolute peak, 71%. Then came the financial crisis, and it took a hit. Fast forward to 2020, and it hit a 25-year low. And now, here we are at a new 31-year low. The trend is pretty undeniable, and if you look close, it kind of looks like it's speeding up. So, the billion-dollar question, why? Why is all this happening now? Well, it's not just one thing, It's really a perfect storm of a few powerful forces all hitting at once. Let's break down the 3 big ones. Driver number 1 kicks off with this eye-popping figure, negative 47%. That's how much China, one of the biggest holders of U.S. debt, has slashed its holdings of U.S. government bonds since 2013. We're talking about over $630 billion. That's a huge amount of money. But why they're doing it? Well, that's where things get really interesting. And this really gets to the heart of the geopolitical side of things. Back in 2022, when the West froze hundreds of billions of Russia's foreign reserves, you better believe other countries were paying attention. For a nation like China, the light bulb went on. The message was loud and clear. If your money is parked in dollars, it can be used against you. So the only logical move is to start moving your money somewhere else. And that leads us perfectly into our second big driver. It's one thing to want to get off the main highway, right? But it's a whole other thing to build your own. And that's exactly what the BRICS nations and their partners are doing. They're literally constructing a parallel financial highway designed to just go around the dollar system completely. And I mean, just look at these numbers. This isn't some pie-in-the-sky plan for the future. This is happening right now. Russia and China are doing nearly all of their business without touching a single dollar. It's the same story for the wider SCO bloc. And India? They've set up over 150 special bank accounts just so other countries can pay them in rupees. It's like they're systematically unplugging from the old matrix, one trade at a time.
All right, our third big driver is a story as old as time, really. When people get nervous about paper money, where do they turn? Gold. Central banks are selling their US dollars, sure, but they have to park that cash somewhere safe. And more, the destination they're choosing is good old-fashioned physical gold.
In just one recent year, central banks around the world scooped up a massive 863 tons of gold. And that was after 3 straight years where they bought over 1,000 tons each. This isn't just a small tweak to their portfolios. This is a huge, historic shift toward what they see as the ultimate safe asset. And you can see here, it's not just 1 or 2 countries making a move. We're seeing it everywhere. Poland in Europe, Kazakhstan and China in Asia, they're all stacking gold at a record pace. And get this, a recent survey found that a whopping 95% of central bankers expect this gold rush to keep going. The signal couldn't be clearer. They trust solid gold more than they trust paper dollars right now. Okay, so we've just painted a pretty convincing, maybe even a little scary picture of the dollar's decline. But before you go start burying gold bars in your backyard, we need to take a step back and have a serious reality check. Because there are some incredibly powerful reasons why the dollar is still the king of the hill and why this whole transition is going to be a very, very slow burn. So really, what we have here are 2 totally competing stories. On one side, you've got the bear case, everything we just talked about, the falling reserves, the pivot to gold, all of it. But on the other side, you have the bull case, some incredibly powerful reasons why the dollar isn't going away anytime soon. Let's dig into its defenses. The dollar's single biggest defense is that it's basically the plumbing of the global economy. Think about it this way. Almost 9 out of every 10 international trades still touch the US dollar. Right now, there's just no other currency that can handle that kind of traffic. The euro's got its own issues, the yuan isn't even fully convertible, so for the actual day-to-day business of the world, the dollar is still the only game in town. It's an incredibly sticky system. So how do we make sense of this? How can the dollar be declining as a reserve, but still be the king of transactions? Well, the answer is that we're not watching the death of the dollar. What we're actually watching is the end of the dollar's monopoly.
What's really emerging is this more multipolar financial world. The dollar is still the biggest kid on the block, no doubt, but its share of the playground is shrinking. The euro's chugging along, but look at the real movers. Gold, surging as that neutral asset, and this whole fast-growing basket of other currencies. Countries aren't picking one new winner. They're spreading their bets. We're moving from a one superpower world to one with several. This chart right here just puts a huge exclamation point on that idea. Go back to 2001, and that other currencies category was practically nothing, a rounding error. Today, it's over 20% of all global reserves. This is the clearest sign that the world isn't trying to replace the dollar with a new dollar. It's moving toward a more fragmented, more diversified system.
Okay, so all this talk about global reserves and geopolitical shifts, it can all feel a little abstract, right? So let's bring this right back down to earth. What does a weaker dollar actually mean for you and your wallet? Well, it really boils down to a few things you'll definitely notice. First, anything we buy from other countries gets more expensive. That means cars, electronics, even some clothes. Second, if you love to travel, your money just doesn't go as far. That trip you've been planning could suddenly cost 10 or 20% more. And finally, you're going to feel it at the grocery store and at the pump, because all the food and fuel we import will cost more, just adding to that inflation pressure.
So, to wrap this all up, the data is pretty clear. The dollar isn't going to collapse tomorrow, but its absolute, undisputed monopoly over the world's financial system, that era is over. The trend lines have been pointing in one direction for a quarter of a century. So the question we're all left with isn't if this is happening anymore. The real question is, how fast?
Currency, crypto, gold, plus trending news and expert articles. All free at Convertz.app. Hit like and subscribe.